Ryan Marine, Calvin Fish with you. DJ Clark is down in the pit lane filling in this weekend for Amanda Busick. So many stories to cover, and we've got about 90 minutes with which to do so once this race gets underway. Second race of the weekend after race one was affected by weather. Didn't quite make it to the halfway mark, so only half points were awarded. But here for race two, no such concerns with Mother Nature, and now everyone about to get down to business as the grid starts to clear. And down on the grid is our DJ Clark. I believe we have a chance to hear from him now down pit side.
Well, race fans, we're down here on pit lane, getting ready to get started. Lots of action down here. This is going to be one of the things to watch, as we've got some good drivers starting at the back of the field. Particularly, we've got the AM entry here of AF Corsa. We're going to talk a little bit more about them and Dolomite Racing. That battle is going to be extended thanks to some amazing sportsmanship across this paddock. But the big story for me here this weekend is these two cars. The Random Vandals Racing farther back down on the grid than we would have thought they would be. They looked incredibly strong yesterday, and they were able to charge up through the field, obviously, before our rain-shortened race. But today, they're going to have a lot to do. Connor DeFilippi is going to be starting, and here you can see him getting ready right now with Kenton Cook. So we're going to have to see what they're going to be able to do. They're going to have to charge their way up through the field. They're going to have a lot of work to do. Moving up forward, one of their title rivals, potentially RS1. They were a little bit of late bloomers in this session, but they've got a lot to do. Jan Halen right there getting strapped in and getting ready to go. We'll have to keep an eye on this RS1 Porsche. We know that they've got some speed. And then let's talk a little bit about Schwest Povolito Racing. Aaron Povolito getting behind the wheel right now. They took their maiden victory in GT America earlier today. Could a little bit of a high from that and could maybe get themselves forward. Turner Motorsport and the BMW, your leaders in the Pro-Am category. They're going to be looking for a good day to try to get their way forward. Let's keep walking down the grid here as I see some folks trying to get out of my way and keep going as much as possible. Here we have, of course, them, GMG Racing, Kyle Washington and Tom Sargent. And there they go. We're going to talk here for a second with Kyle Washington, getting ready to strap into the car. Kyle, it's a little better conditions out here today, so how's that going to fare for you?
Well, I'm trying to stay a little cooler here than our last get up, but we got Tom starting, and he's real fast right now, and he's got the car running real well, and fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for you. We wish you good luck. That's Kyle Washington. He'll be taking over halfway through for GMG Racing. Going to continue walking down pit lane here and see what else we've got. This is, of course, Archangel Motorsports, Aaron Tielitz and Todd Coleman. That's going to be them behind the wheel of the car in this McLaren 720S. This car had a little bit of damage yesterday, an incident at the kink. That was easily repaired. They were here till about 1:30 or so last night, so not some of the crazy 4:30s that we've heard. But then we get to the pointy end of the grid. This is it, JMF Motorsports right here in the Mercedes AMG. They're the ones with the wind at their back. We're going to have to see what they are able to do. And then, of course, the big story for me, the Corvette back up to, well, where we expected it from last year. DXDT Racing doing an absolutely fantastic job to be able to get this Corvette back up to the pointy end of the grid and get themselves going around. Blake McDonald getting ready and behind the wheel of that car. Blake strapped in. We don't want to disturb him, obviously. Once the helmets come on, that's kind of our rule down here, but we'll take a little bit of a gander over to DXDT. Actually, let's see here if we can talk to the man as he's walking. He hears an echo as he's running around. Let's see if we can grab a driver or two, and let's see if we can get them to come on out. Want to definitely get over here as I try to get him. Blake McDonald for DXDC Racing. We were just talking about the amazing performance that you got here in qualifying, and it's great to see this Corvette back up at the front of the grid. What are you guys able to do from this position?
Well, hopefully we're able to convert it. We feel strong. We feel like we have all the tools we need, so fingers crossed. We need a simple race today, and we'll see how it goes.
I think after yesterday, we're all praying for a little bit of a simple race. Big smile there, Blake McDonald. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much. Again, that's Blake McDonald. He's going to be ready to go. That is our grid. Ryan, we'll come back to you. I'll tell you what, we've got a lot of storylines to follow, and I'll keep you up to date on all of them as this race goes along.
Appreciate it, DJ. Yes, it is indeed a grid full of fascinating stories to tell. Blake McDonald is one of them. Very new to the sport, but certainly a quick study because he and Matt Bell are very much in the mix for the Pro-Am Championship, and they'll have the best starting position of all today, starting on the overall pole. No one has come close to the lap time that we saw from Matt Bell in qualifying for this race. That was yesterday morning.
Yeah, I think they were on everyone's radar looking through the practice session that the Corvettes had incredible speed, not only in the hands of the pro Matt Bell, but certainly Blake as well. So they were forecast to do well in qualifying. They certainly showcased that speed with Matt Bell saying that was the fastest lap he's ever done here around Road America. So he was certainly very excited after that qualifying run. But different story on race day. We talked about the slight tweaks to the BOP has closed the field down a little bit in terms of outright pace. But they really need to win here. They really need to eat into that championship lead. Yes, they got a boost yesterday. The championship lead of the 29 is just 38 points, but if Matt Bell and Blake McDonald can win, then suddenly that is a different story going into Barber Motorsports Park.
Starting at the back of the pack, this number 6 car, you saw the graphic, Dollarhide Racing, Eric Powell. What are they doing in a Turner BMW? Well, the big crash yesterday for Scott Dollarhide meant their Ford Mustang wasn't ready to go for the race here today. Let's take a look back at it. It was a scary moment, and it happened on a drying track, Cal.
Yeah, it did. You see Scott there on entry, just drops that left rear onto that wet curb. That sends him a little bit sideways through apex, tries to correct it, gets on the brake pedal ultimately, and just slams it into the wall there, driver's left. Todd Coleman had to lift. That put the weight on the nose of that McLaren. He goes for ride as well. You see Gray Newell there does a great job of escaping and just threading the needle with all of the debris field you see there on the racetrack. But this is a great kind of sportsmanship, as DJ alluded to, with Turner Motorsport, allowing them to start this car with the new rules this year. You don't have to do 50% to get points. So we anticipate at least Eric Powell just doing a couple of laps, getting the points on the board, more importantly for his teammate Scott Dollarhide, who's in that first battle for the AM Championship title.
Exactly so, and if you noticed, if you look closely at the very front of that BMW, the team put a little Ford Mustang GT3 sticker on the grille of the car. Probably the first time that's ever been on a BMW, but it is a day of firsts, and a big thanks to the Turner team for stepping up and doing the sportsmanlike thing to keep the AM Class Championship alive, because second place points, if they can just take the start, at least keeps that in the conversation for Scott Dollarhide heading into the final 3 races of the season, of course culminating with the Indy 8-hour. Getting close to the start of this race, which means we're closing in on the command to start engines. A look up and down this grid. This is the car that won overall yesterday with Philip Ellis. He'll have the second stint here today. Jeff Burton will get the start, qualified that car back in the 13th spot, but keep an eye on them in the second half of today's race. There's a look at the heart of racing car, Gray Newell, Darren Turner. Darren had a big crash in the kink earlier this weekend. That team was here, as DJ alluded to, late into the wee hours of the morning. They got the car repaired ahead of the race yesterday, looking to have another strong run here today. Getting close now to getting this race underway, which means it's about time for the command to start engines down trackside here at Road America.
Race fans, here to give the command, please welcome content creator Austin Sprins.
Drivers, start your engines!
Just as they're bid, the engines roar to life on the pit lane, and very soon the field of 15 will roll out onto the racetrack to take the green flag for this second 90-minute race of the weekend. Qualifying was very dramatic yesterday with fast times coming in late. This is a new tire here this weekend, brand new for GT World Challenge America, introduced mid-season, and it threw some curveballs at the different teams as they were trying to get up to speed with those tires, but those that did it best, how about in the pro class? The JMF Motorsports duo, it's Mikel Grenier who set the time. Matt Bell, though, quickest of all for DXDT Racing. Pro-Am class pole, overall pole, and then Oz Negri, the veteran, will roll off 11th overall, fastest of the 2 Am class cars in the qualifying session yesterday. Qualifying pace is one thing, race pace is another, and again, it's a bit of a trip into the unknown for these teams that don't have extensive experience with this new Pirelli tire. Here's how they'll line up. Matt Bell and Mikael Grenier sharing the front row of the grid. It's Matt Bell on the overall pole. Aaron Thielitz from nearby Rice Lake, Wisconsin. Great lap from him in qualifying. He'll start third next to the Aussie, Tom Sargent for G&G Racing. Down to the next row, you find in row 3 Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport and Aaron Povoledo, that team, Schwez Povoledo Racing, victorious for the first time in GT America SRO 3 competition earlier this morning. Jan Halen and Connor DeFilippi, a couple of pro class cars battling for a championship. They'll line up alongside one another in the 4th row. Then it's Bill Oberlin in the 4th of the pro class cars. He'll share row 5 with the impressive rookie Isaac Sherman. Down to the 6th row, that's where you find the M-Class pole sitter Oswaldo Negri. Darren Turner, the veteran from the UK, starts alongside in his Aston Martin. Jeff Burton set to line up in the 7th row next to Marcelo Hahn, and out back Eric Powell, for the first time ever driving a BMW GT3 machine, will at least take the green flag, maybe do a couple of laps, but just looking to score some points after Scott Dollarhide, his teammate, had that big accident in their Ford Mustang in race 1 yesterday.
If he likes it, maybe he'll do a few more.
Why wouldn't he? It would be tempting.
I wouldn't want to come in,
no.
do a few laps around Road America in a brilliant GT3 race car like that BMW M4. But it's a great story, and it's a shame that Scott Dollarhide will not see any green flag racing here today. It's going to be a bit of a thrash to get that car ready for Barber Motorsports Park. I know spares and things like that, and it's a small team. Doesn't have a huge budget. See a little lock up there, Marcelo Hahn trying to get some temperature there. And there, of course, Ferrari down into turn 8. But what a wonderful circuit. This is the best of the best. This is my favorite. I hate to, no discredit to any of the other circuits that we run on, but this is a treat.
It sure is, and these GT3 cars thrive around this place. This is a great place to come and check out motorsport, sports car racing in particular, as our VIP green flag waiver goes through the motions, getting ready to go, having been coached up by the regular Tom Hansing.
Just like the drivers, going through the motions right now, just trying to get a feel. Only one formation lap because of the length of the lap, just over 4 miles, longest track that we run on, as we talked about on that track preview with Mackay Stevens getting ready to go here in a hurry.
This place throws a lot at you. 14 turns, 4 miles, longest track on the calendar. 171 feet of elevation change around a single lap of Road America as well. 3 distinct heavy braking zones that serve as great passing opportunities too. Plus some very complicated and technical corners that stitch together the long straightaways here at America's National Park of Speed. Here comes the field up the hill. It's Matt Bell, the pole sitter in the Corvette. Mikael Grenier starting to edge out ahead just a little bit, but now he sits back and allows Matt Bell, the pole sitter, to lead the field to the green flag. Race 2 of the weekend is underway, and the Corvette man stakes his claim on the top spot. Here comes Aaron Thielitz, though, taking a peek up the inside.
Yeah, that third starting spot, but it gets really tight there. Wow, Sargent almost squeezed Thielitz. He survives. One of the BMWs having a run down into that turn 3 brake zone. That's Robbie Foley.
Thielitz has to settle back in line. Tom Sargent up to the 3rd spot in the black E-Boost-sponsored GMG Racing Porsche. Side-by-side fight here. It's the McLaren of Thielitz, challenged by Foley. 2 front runners in the Pro-Am class.
Foley making some moves early, really tight there mid-pack. Almost argy-bargy down into the brake zone. 2 random vandals machines. Line astern through turn 5.
They were rapid on starts and restarts yesterday as Aaron Povoledo got shoved wide, kicking up some dust in the silver and black Corvette. Lost a position to Sedgwick, now gets the same treatment from Bill Oberlin in the first of those random vandals BMWs. It's the white-fronted machine leading the teammate that comes into this race as the points leader.
Povoledo trying to respond there down in the turn 8 brake zone as Connor DeFilippi immediately in front of him. Isaac Sherman aboard the CRP Racing Mercedes. The black and red machine right there as they head into the carousel.
Race starting to settle down at the front of the field. It's Matt Bell leading overall and in Pro-Am. Pro-Class leader Mikhail Grenier giving chase. Then Sargent, Foley, and Tielitz. Then you get to this hornet's nest. Hagelin, Oberlin, and DeFilippi all for position nose to tail, with Povolato giving chase, but coming under pressure now from Jason Dascalos, or Isaac Sherman, excuse me.
I thought Tielitz was going to make a move for second position. Suddenly he finds himself P5 right now at the end of this first lap.
How about that? Shuffled back was the Wisconsin native, settles back in. Remember, that car repaired since yesterday. You can see the bare carbon on the nose of that car. Typically, it's that more traditional papaya color to go with the rest of that colorful paint scheme. But Tielitz has settled back in and now draws a bead on the BMW of Foley.
Settling in here. Tire temperatures start to come into their sweet spot as a long lap here, and we're running this new DHG tire, so lots of learning to take place. Got a decent green flag run yesterday. It was interrupted a couple of times with cautions, and then ultimately the weather.
A couple of veterans here with more salt than pepper in their hair these days, but Darren Turner able to force his way around Oz Negri. That's for 11th overall.
Still pretty salty behind the wheel.
No question. Both of them still have the fire in their bellies. Both of them enjoying this opportunity to continue to race at a high level, compare themselves to some top-line pros. Turner is through. Now his next target is the CRP Racing Mercedes of Isaac Sherman. Just his first year of GT3 racing, but what a dominant year he had last year in GT4 cars.
Yeah, I think between he and his team, they had 19 victories last year across 2 different championships. Had a couple of rough weekends at Sebring and at VIR, but they bounced back nicely this weekend. They got Ryan Dial, a former driver on that CRP team here, as a mentor and driver coach. And he kind of guides, I think he kind of steers the whole ship, and they've regrouped nicely. Isaac and Jason very happy with the race car this weekend. 3
straight top 5 finishes for the team, including 4th yesterday. Isaac Sherman in a nice rhythm here, now starting to leg out a bit of a gap over the veteran Darren Turner. Just the second lap of the race. Matt Bell's lead half a second over Mikhail Grenier. And here is Sherman from New Mexico, who has proven to be a quick study. No matter what kind of car you throw him in, his team boss has just raved about him. Nick Short, who has seen his fair share of talented drivers come through his doors over the years, has had just glowing things to say about Isaac ever since he joined the program just before the start of the season.
Yeah, he's a great personality. Always got a smile on his face. Seems to be happy to be here, whatever the way the weekend is going. That's a great trait to have, because there's certainly some ups and downs in racing. But Tielitz keeping the pressure on Robbie Foley here, and that's critical for our championship leader of Foley to not drop any more positions. Nearest pursuer is leading this race overall and in class, so looks like could drop a little bit more of that championship lead as they run right now for the Turner Motorsports Group.
They do have a longer pit stop coming their way as well, due to the derogated bronze status of co-driver Justin Rothberg. This is as anticipated. Eric Powell has done a handful of laps, and he will now bring the spare car from Turner Motorsport that the Dollarhide Racing team is borrowing for this purpose to the pit lane. And it looks like their day likely done at this stage, but it does mean at least second place points for Scott Dollarhide in his title bid.
Turner down to the inside into the brake zone for turn 5. Sherman tries to hang with him. Rough ride there. Darren just sticks to the middle of the road. Inches back over on the line at apex. Nice move.
It should be noted that before his accident at the end of practice 2, Darren Turner had been really quick here this weekend aboard this car. They've been just feeling things out over the weekend since then. Probably having the rain yesterday didn't do them any favors. They wanted to make sure everything was ship shape after the extensive repairs that were required.
Yeah, coming off a great weekend at VIR, a couple of podiums there, and as you said, they looked really strong in practice here this weekend. Darren come up to the corner where he had the moment yesterday. This is the infamous kink here. He just tried to eat a little bit more of that apex curb. He watched the BMW do it. He tried it in the Aston Martin, went for a ride, tore the car up, worked till 4:30 the next morning, quick break, waiting the chassis, basically have to glue it back together. Got it back out there and looked reasonable yesterday. I'm sure they've been tweaking on it ever since.
Final step of the podium in Pro-Am up for grabs in this scrap here. Robbie Foley has it in the Ladecrete BMW from Turner Motorsport. Aaron Thielitz trying to take it away, and it looks like with each passing lap, he's just that little bit closer in some of the key braking zones, including most recently down at Canada Corner. But in front of the field, it's still Matt Bell, who has been fast here with DXDT and Blake McDonald all weekend. Strong day again yesterday, and these two, slowly but surely, are entering that championship conversation.
Oh, they truly are. I mean, they got a bit of a boost yesterday because they finished behind the championship leaders on the road. Then with that post-race penalty of 5 seconds, that dropped Robbie Foley and his teammate down 5 positions to P7, so that was a huge swing in the points. And I think the real key is Blake McDonald's got pace. We saw him at VI. He looked to be quicker than Justin Rothberg. Couldn't make the move for the win there. But nonetheless, I think if he's got track position, he's got enough poise and experience now to handle this pressure today.
His team has not finished off the podium since the first 2 races of the season. A couple of wins and then consistently second or third for DXDT Racing through the heat of the summer. Just behind is Mikael Grenier, leads the way in the pro class. He and Mackay Stevens won on debut back at Sonoma in the spring. And remarkably, that was the first ever GT3 race for Mackay Stevens, but also for JMF Motorsports.
Yeah, incredible. They followed up with another victory a little bit later in the year. It's a brand new chassis that they debuted at VIR in the last rounds of the championship.
And Grenier, unlike most of the field, does have extensive experience with this new Pirelli tire. He's got a busy schedule as a Mercedes factory driver running in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, part of the Boots and VDS operation for their that pro class entry. So he brings that experience to this team and maybe gives them a leg up on their competition. We're waiting through the field to pick up the leader in the M class. Here it is, Oz Negri. Jay Schreibman is his teammate. Meanwhile, the other side of the M-Class Championship story, it's Scott Dolehide, who had the big crash yesterday in DJ. First and foremost, we're just so happy Scott's doing all right.
Yeah, Ryan, we're very, very happy that Scott is well and out of the car. You said to me this morning, no pain at all. But I want to talk to you about your morning this morning, because it seemed like this was a crazy deal that came together.
Yes, it really was. But yeah, no, I'm also happy I'm okay. It was a pretty wild ride, but the safety of the race cars now is absolutely incredible. But this morning we were thinking that, we need to actually get some points on the board. So the guys over at Turner, they were really nice in letting us use the car to get some points out on the board, and that way we can stay in this championship.
Well, I mean, what an incredible statement of sportsmanship, and it's what we've come to expect from this paddock, and I know you'd do the same if it came your way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody in the paddock is really looking forward to just support each other in the sport. We all have a deep passion for it, and yeah, we're all here for the same thing, to compete and win and have fun, and yeah, we're all doing that. So.
Well, we're glad you're okay. We're glad you got the points. Scott, we'll see you, Barbara.
Thanks, DJ. Appreciate it.
And it's a big deal for Scott in that championship pursuit, because had they not started this race, it would have been a 0 score. By at least taking the start, they'll get second place points. So rather than losing 25 points to Oz Negri and Jay Schreibman, it's just a 7-point swing instead.
Yeah, and 14 on the weekend, obviously, with the crash yesterday. They finished second in class, so 14-point swing, but we've still got 100 points on the board, so there's potential 28 points. If there's only just those two in the M class, we may see some other entries in the final few rounds of the championship, but they can certainly have enough time to reverse it. And that Ford Mustang, by the way, is really starting to show some pace here. The team, the small team from Dolehide Racing, are really doing a great job of engineering that. There's some understeer that they're trying to dial out of the race car, but outside of that, it's been showing great pace. And I think Eric Powell has been sort of a revelation in his first laps aboard a GT3 car. Was really quick at VIR. He certainly had some pace earlier this weekend in practice as well. So looking forward to seeing both of them back for the next rounds of the championship.
Eric's a talented guy, 2021 TC America TC class champion, won 4 races that year en route to the title, and has been a race winner and regular podium contender in touring cars for quite a while. But this is the opportunity he's been waiting for, a chance to drive GT3. He's always said growing up in Florida, he would often go to the Rolex 24 or go to the 12 Hours of Sebring, and he was always drawn to the GT classes. So to get to race in a top-level GT car, as he got to do for the first time at VIR, that was the culmination of a life's work.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, you know, for a young man who looks like he's one of those talents that's going to slip through the net, to finally be rewarded with some full-time rides in other championships and this opportunity aboard the GT3 car. And he's grasped it well and seems to be very calm and settling in quickly to the extra horsepower and extra downforce of these types of cars.
Just a moment ago, we got a look out the windscreen of the GMG Porsche, driven right now by Tom Sargent, who has been a revelation himself since coming stateside to pursue his motorsports career. Lots of single-make Porsche experience, and then got hooked up with GMG, got hooked up with Kyle Washington in recent years, and the two of them have continued to push each other forward over the last season and a half.
So he's really pushing forward right now is Aaron Telitz. That was a big run he got there through the kink. Really in a position, looks down to the inside on Robbie Foley. That was tight there, great racecraft between the two of them. Robbie gave him a little bit of room. Aaron didn't force it, realized there could have been contact, and Robbie had been around for a ride there, but this is definitely heating up a little bit for this track position.
That moment there was reminiscent of a conversation that we've had with several competitors. The interesting thing about GT racing is through the balance of performance, the lap time is quite similar, but the cars make their speed in different ways. And one thing you'll often hear the competition say about racing the BMW, because they're so fast in a straight line, it often makes it where you have to be really aggressive in those moments, like we saw Telitz under braking, because that's the part of the corner and the part of the lap where the McLaren might have a slight edge on the BMW.
Yeah, certainly, and Mackay Stevens, who was a guest aboard our Pirelli GT4 broadcast earlier today, gave us that insight and saying, look, the BMW is very strong there, so they're either coming at you in a hurry if they're from behind, or if you're having to outbrake them into what are traditionally the overtaking opportunities here on this racetrack, like this run down through the Moraine Sweep into turn 5. You're coming from a long way back because they're typically extending by about a car length down these long straightaways here. It makes a really tricky dynamic for the other brands up against that BMW.
Well judged, though, by Aaron Telitz. Both continue to fight on another day. Foley currently 4th overall, 3rd in class. Telitz has dropped back a little bit since that moment and into the clutches of a hard-charging Jan Halen. This RS1 team, oh, and problems maybe for Sargent. He appears to be off the pace.
He is off the pace. Telitz didn't want to give him any room here. Sure if that's just a gearbox issue or he didn't have low gear to accelerate off the corner. He seems like he's back up to speed there. That was very strange, whether he had a little electronic blip, didn't have power momentarily. It looked like he was off the road, just like he didn't accelerate off turn 8 there.
Now that happened quick, didn't it? All of a sudden, Telitz was up there, having caught the Porsche, and then I think maybe expected him to stay off the pace when they were approaching the carousel. Instead, the Porsche was back on song again, and that led to a little side-to-side contact. But whatever the problem is, Sargent seems to be settled back in.
He does. We'll have to wait until we get to a couple of the lower speed corners. I think the same gear that's used down in turn 8 is the one that's utilized in turn 5 as well, and possibly turn 3. So we'll see if he has any similar issues, but certainly a little technical blip, it looked like.
Well, that's been a boon for Robbie Foley, who now has a 1-second gap to Telitz as you see the BMW come across the line. Then Telitz in the McLaren, then the Porsche of Sargent, which has now dropped back. And that was a couple positions in class that he's dropped here too, that's worth noting. Now we wonder what might be troubling Tom Sargent. TJ, what have you found out?
Yeah, I just talked to GMG Racing. They said it was a minor hiccup in the gearbox that prevented that acceleration. They think it's okay now, but they're keeping an eye on it, Ryan.
All right. So are we. This is where you think it might pop up again if it's the same issue?
Yeah, it was like he almost couldn't shift up. It was just stuck in the lower gear, so he had no acceleration, but that was fine there. It was fine out of turn 3, so for their sakes, hopefully it's gone away. There's weird things that can happen in a race car. You can bump the pit lane speed limiter button, things like that, and suddenly you're like, what's going on, before you realize cars are flying by your ears.
top of that shot. Team boss James Sophonis looked on with a look of consternation.
That was the corner that he had the problem, and he's clean through there this time.
Also saw a peek at James' son Jensen, who's racing this weekend in Toyota GR Cup. Their second generation racer, starting early. He made his GR Cup debut at 14, I think it was, last year. Chip off the old block, though.
Absolutely. James is really excited about his son's progress in the sport. Such a young age. I can't believe these kids are competing in these pro championships now.
Yeah, remarkable. Watching Jan Halen trying to chase Tom Sargent. Looks like he's fallen off a little bit since Sargent was laboring.
Yeah, that was weird because Thiele's dropped away from Foley, and it looked like Halen was all over him. Then they leapfrogged around Sargent with his little bobble there. But for the RS1 team, what a weekend they put together at VIR, sweeping and really bringing themselves firmly into championship perspective.
Yeah, only 14 points out coming into the weekend. Only finished 4th, though, yesterday. A bit of a setback from them from a points perspective. But Sedgwick and Halen, they've been consistently nipping at the heels of the front runners, and it did feel like it was only a matter of time until they finally did break through, and they did so in a big way, sweeping, as you say, the weekend at VIR.
Yeah, that was huge. Gave them a lot of momentum. They've really been trying to bolster their engineering squad there. Brought in some new talent at Sebring, and then had an additional engineer at VIR. That certainly brought some great rewards, and they're pretty peppy right now. They feel the car is good. It's horses for courses. It's not always going to be strong every single racetrack you go to. It's going to favor certain brands, but yes, they're definitely in the fight with still a bundle of points left on the table here before the checkered flag at Indy.
The issues moments ago for Sargent that has promoted Thiele's up a position in class. He now sits 3rd. And this would be, admittedly with a long way to go, but it would be their first podium of the season. Todd Coleman and Aaron Thiele's best finish so far was race 1 at Sebring, where they finished 4th. But a couple of back-to-back DNFs, Calvin. VIR race 2 and yesterday in race 1. Through no fault of their own, it should be noted. Todd Coleman caught up in that Scott Dollahide incident, spinning in avoidance and damaged the front of that car. It has them back a little ways down the order, 7th in points coming in, and took a big hit yesterday too.
Certainly did. Up front here, battle for the overall lead is getting compressed. Mikel Grenier aboard the pro leading car, the second car in the picture going up the hill. Certainly keeping Matt Bell on his toes right now. I think this is as close as he's been here, Ryan.
2 cars in 2 different classes though, so they'll need to figure out how they're going to handle that situation. You would think, as far as the overall is concerned, that shouldn't be any trouble for Mackay Stevens in the second half of the race to get around this Corvette. But that said, Blake McDonald has been getting stronger and stronger as the year has progressed. This could be a big day for them, especially if they can keep in front of that BMW that's lurking in the background.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, certainly Foley's going to drop back a little bit during the round of pit stops. They have to be stationary 5 seconds longer than the rest of the Pro-Am field, so he's going to try and do as much work as he can right towards the end there. Everyone's feeling these tires out, trying to manage those, but you got to feel if Foley's got any grip left towards the end of this stint, and he'll probably try and maximize the 50 minutes maximum drive time here today, that he's really going to be pushing every ounce he's got of performance to try and gap the rest of the Pro-Am field so his teammate doesn't come out behind so many cars.
Just saw the top 6 come through. Here's 7th place, Bill Auberland. Connor DiFilippi down here in 8th, and giving chase is Darren Turner, who on the previous lap put a pass on Aaron Povoleto to take that spot away. That was 5th and 6th in Pro-Am, and Turner is, without a doubt, reeling Connor in here.
It really is. Connor runs 4th of the 4 cars in the pro class field here. He had a really nice run in LMP2 competition here a few weeks ago with a podium run, so he knows the racetrack well. Certainly in qualifying, we thought Rand Vandel's machines were a little bit off the pace. They're about 5-6 tenths off the front running pace here in race conditions today. Some not ideal for our championship leader, but to be running fourth in class is certainly going to allow the 34 car and the 18 to cut into that championship lead unless Kenton Cook can perform some magic. But boy, has he had a season. 9 victories now in SRO, his 5th GT World Challenge America victory yesterday. He's had 4 in Pirelli GT4 as well.
And won an IMSA race here a few weeks back too, albeit in a much different car. That was in a Ferrari. But yeah, Kitten's had a magical season, the kind you dream of across multiple series, multiple platforms.
See track limits there. That's the edge of the perpendicular white lines on the exit of turn 1. It's not being called in this race today. John Maskey, the race director, is allowing the drivers to go out there, just explore a little bit. Don't feel there's a huge advantage rather than trying to police it, which can certainly be a nightmare for the race director's office and his staff and stewards there to do so. So he's elected to give them a bit more free rein here around this circuit.
Really opens up that corner using all the curbing there in turn 1, but it is rough out there. That is the kind of curbing that will shake the fillings out of your teeth if you're not careful.
Yeah, it can also knock back the brake pads off the road as you get everything moving around in the suspension. Suddenly you go to the next brake zone and the brake pedal's a little bit longer. So if you are taking a bit of a rough ride out there, you may want to touch that brake pedal before you get to an important brake zone.
Continuing to watch Connor DeFilippi here. Right now 4th in class. They've only finished 4th in their class of 4 once all season long. That's when they failed to finish race number 2 at Circuit of the Americas. And it does seem like Connor is struggling. We've got to look at something that happened a few laps ago. Keep an eye on Connor DeFilippi there. Looks like maybe he had an issue into braking into 5, and that could have opened up the door there for Darren Turner to pounce, put a move on Aaron Povolato.
It did look like Aaron maybe got the right sides in the dust there, trying to turn into turn 6 as he was off his normal line through that corner, so he lost a little bit further ground.
That was unfortunate for Aaron. Cost him a couple of positions, but he settled back in.
And I think that was caused by the fact that Connor did run a little bit deep, and Aaron lost all momentum coming off that turn 5 apex.
Front of the field. Look who's starting to reel in the top 2, Robbie Foley.
I think this is the point we talked about. He's got to manage those tires, then feel out, and if he feels the grip is there, this is kind of go time for Robbie Foley. He's got to massage that 5-second penalty that they have to serve during this next round of pit stops here today. What he doesn't want to have happen is to see any sort of yellow when the field is more compressed when they roll down pit lane together.
Exactly right. Foley, though, considerably quicker than the top 2 on that last lap. 0.4 of a second better than the leader, and about half a second faster than second placed overall Mikael Grenier. But even faster than Foley was Aaron Thielitz. This is shaping up to be a fascinating situation where the top 2 who have controlled this race up to this point might be struggling a little bit with the tire as we get deeper and deeper into the race.
Thielitz just laid down the fastest lap of the race. There's a ton of speed in that McLaren. It's a repaired race car from that incident yesterday that Todd Coleman had right here on the exit of the kink when Dollarhide had his big one. So Aaron's got his family here this weekend. His 2 sons saw him at the coffee shop off the rail the other morning, and he had his young kid up on his shoulders. Happy family, looking forward to a great run here today.
Giving him a good ride right now. Currently 3rd in class and breathing down the neck of 2nd place, Robbie Foley. Same story with Grenier. He was closed up again on Bell and maybe seeing that the pressure is starting to arrive from behind. There's a sense of urgency that wasn't there earlier. He'll want to keep as much of a buffer as he can to the next car in his class, which is Jan Heylen back in 6th overall.
Thielitz on that lap still a little bit quick, but even quicker still was Sargent and Jan Heylen. This is going to really compress this little group there running for 3rd on back overall. Like Grenier's a little bit later on the brakes into turn 3. You see a little bit of movement there with that Mercedes platform into that brake zone. is known to be really strong into the brake zone. Just a super compliant car, seems to do everything pretty well. Maybe not the fastest beast down the straightaways, but nonetheless, over a lap, tough to beat this Mercedes.
Grenier's been racing these Mercedes at a top level all around the world for quite a number of years now. Won the Intercontinental GT Challenge GT3 Pro-Am title back in 2021. GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup champion in 2018 in the silver class. Also won an IMSA Endurance Championship in 2023. As we looked at the race vision powered by AWS, an interesting omission was our race leader, Matt Bell, which goes to show that although that car was really stout at the very beginning of the stint, it doesn't seem to be maintaining that relative to the competition.
Yeah, you saw Grenier sort of like move around into the brake zone into turn 8 to try and distract Matt Bell, but Matt Bell has so much experience, he's not going to be falling for that one. He's just trying to hit his marks, focus forward, not make the big mistake into one of these heavy brake zones to open up the door on that Mercedes. 10 minutes away or so, but for the first opportunity to make a pit stop, do the minimum stop time of 86 seconds, and then not exceed the 50 minutes for your second driver in this race to the checkered flag.
I'm going to leave this here. In race 1, we spend so much of the beginning of the race talking about Philip Ellis out in front, building the gap, trying to build a margin for Jeff Burton. Race 2, the shoe is on the other foot. Jeff's job is to stay as close as possible to the front of the field, and he's done a nice job. He's 13th, but remember, he is one of just 2 AMs, the other being Marcelo Hahn, that is up against all the other pros in the Pro-Am class, and Jeff is only 37 seconds off the lead. That's a gap that Philip Ellis can overcome even without a yellow, but certainly if the yellow comes in the second half of the race, that is exactly what Regulator would like to see.
That's a great call. Yeah, really solid run so far today for Jeff Burton. His fast lap at 208.4 compared to a fast lap in the 206 range. I think Philip Ellis, who we're looking at there on top of the box, will be happy with that. The key is to not make that mistake. You just want that nice, consistent pace. Keep it clean. Stay focused throughout the course. Will be probably just shy of a 40-minute stint before they bring that car in and get Philip Ellis on board.
They won yesterday in that truncated race. They won overall. Jeff Burton never got a chance to climb aboard when the race was called. Initially, when the yellow flag came out, we thought, oh no, this is not at all what they need on their strategy. But as it happened, the weather rolled in, the lightning in particular, which caused the cancellation of the race, and they were left out in front. The only downside was we weren't yet to the halfway mark of the race. It got put, the time of the race got rescinded back to when the yellow flag changed to a red flag, and so consequently, yes, they got the win, but they only got half the points.
Yeah, half the delta in points between them and the championship leaders of Foley and Rothberg, but nonetheless, they'll be happy with the win. Just focus forward, look to the next one, and you know, Philip Ellis, if there's a yellow, either before he gets in or after he gets in, that really gives him a great opportunity of maybe sweeping the weekend. That would be huge for them after a disastrous VIR weekend.
Oh, it was terrible. They didn't get any of the luck that, frankly, they have had on their side with some regularity to get the season started. 3 wins on the year, including the one yesterday, but VIR finishes of 7th and 9th, and actually didn't see the checkered flag in the second of those 2 races. Took them from second in points and within shouting distance to third, 52 points out coming into this weekend. Oh, close stuff here. Thielitz under attack now all of a sudden from Sargent, who got to the flank. The 2 made side-by-side contact, and here comes the Porsche man again. Again, the 2 rub fenders coming down under the Sargento bridge, and on the run down to turn 5, Thielitz will have the inside, but man, there's not a lot of room left between these 2. They've hit fenders now 2 or 3 times already. Why not make it a 4th?
Oh, Jan Halen tried to set it up, just got wide there and lost a little bit of grip. Body parts are flying here. Argy-bargy up the hill into turn 6. Sargent goes through.
Wow, that was forceful from Tom Sargent. He gets by the McLaren driver. Not sure who lost the bodywork there. Might have been off the Porsche. Yes, there's a gaping hole right front. of that e-boost Porsche. How do you think that might affect the handling of the car?
It's not going to be good. It's going to be a bit of a parachute down the straightaways, and I'm not sure if it's going to affect the downforce as well. It's kind of torn off those two little dive planes that you see on the right front. That piece of bodywork supports that, so he may notice a little bit more understeer through corners like the one he just went through, particularly here at the kink. Let's see how he rides through here. Got that little extra safety net, as I call it, out there with that concrete matrix of extra curbing since the last time he ran in 2024.
Sargent will need to feel that out and pass along any feedback on what to expect to the team so they can communicate it with Kyle Washington before he climbs aboard. We're approaching that pit stop window, not too terribly far away. Most of this field you expect would run as deep into the window as possible, but again, keep your eye on Jeff Burton and Marcelo Hahn, the pair of them likely to be the first two to come to the pits to get their pros in those cars and maximize the drive time.
Yeah, about 5 minutes away from that happening. There needs to be 51 minutes and 26 seconds on the clock to do the perfect pit stop and then be out. Not be shy of that 50-minute max. Jan Halen there had a bit of a bobble. I thought he was going to be able to take advantage of the two in front of him, dicing it out down in the brakes over turn 5, but he then got in a little bit deep, couldn't get the car turned in and lost a bit of ground. Thielett's lost a bit of ground there at apex in turn 3 as well.
Speaking of bobbles, we understand that Thielett's had a bit of a bobble, which is what left him vulnerable to Tom Sargent. This was 1 lap ago. Let's watch what we can see. This is Grenier, top 2 coming through, but watch at the bottom of the picture. I think we're going to see Thielett's with a big moment here. And shoots over to the right, whether that was in defense.
I think he probably got a poor run through turn 1 and was just immediately going defensive down on the run into turn 3. Well, and consequently didn't get off at turn 3 well, and that's what made it so tight getting into the turn 5 brake zone.
Exactly.
When you defend like that, you're really shallow. You got much tighter radius, can't get the power down as early and open up your hands.
And that's when we picked up the battle, the two side by side in the run from turn 3 down to turn 5, and that was pretty robust, wasn't it? The two cars going side by side all the way down that straightaway. And it is a technique, the side draft, and maybe take it a little bit further with the actual side-to-side contact. Let's look at this again. Curious what you make of some of these moments here, Cal.
I think the bodywork's already gone on the right front there of Sargent, so I think that must have been an earlier rub. Pretty clean as they got off at turn 6 there and headed to turn 7 with that replay.
In any event, Sargent's still moving at a pretty good clip. He's actually been able to pull a gap over Aaron Thielett's. His last lap was a 2:08.3, which is good, if not great. How about this lap? 2:07.7, that's more like it, but still a little ways off of the front 3 cars of Bell, Grenier, and Foley.
And again, looking at Foley's time, if he is stationary, could lose 3 or 4 positions as they run if everyone has an identical pit stop. Foley and company could drop back down the order a little bit with that extra 5 seconds that they're stationary, but we'll still got a few minutes on the board here. You'd expect Foley to try and exhaust the full 50 minutes of drive time here before he comes in and hands it over to Justin.
Well, it's been an interesting stint for Tom Sargent, hasn't it, DJ? Had the gearbox issue early in the run, and now this damage. What are you hearing from the team?
Well, I can tell you that the blood pressure is certainly up a little bit in GMG camp as they are trying to figure out exactly what to do. There's a debate happening right now on whether or not they're going to change out some bodywork or not. Frankly, doing the math on how long it is going to take in pit lane, it doesn't seem to be affecting Sargent too much, so I think they're leaning on the side of leaving it as be, but definitely conversations taking place.
I don't think that lower quarter panel, as I'd call it, is an easy replacement. That's not a quick fix there. You can pop a new hood on and stuff like that with the minimum pit stop time possibly, but anything more extensive, you're going to lose a lot more time. And to DJ's point, the car seems to be performing pretty nicely.
Let's take a look back at this again. I think this is ultimately the pass for position, and then what happened afterwards.
Fly up the hill. I think right there is where that bodywork just gets caught. You see it fly there with the dive planes connected to it. Another little touch there. just smart driving. Tom goes more directly to the apex to create a bit of a buffer between the two cars when it gets to that critical point, and we've seen so many incidents. Turn 6 seems to be the hot spot here this weekend with the classes of racing we've seen so far this weekend. Little moment there for Telitz. Nearly drops it coming off of turn 14.
Yeah, just a little bit wide, put half a wheel in the grass. Quick hands to correct it. And he's on his way yet again. Holding down 4th place. That car still, despite all the contact, seems to be in good working order for Todd Coleman, who will be at the controls next. Interesting that Jan Hagelen has caught this group but hasn't been able to do anything with them. He'll flash the headlights, at least make an attempt to let Aaron Telitz know that he is there. But this is the 2nd placed car in the pro class, and he is losing ground to Mikel Grenier.
Talking about these new DHG tires, comparing the fastest laps of the day to what the drivers are currently running a little bit deeper in the stint. Looks like they're hanging in there really well, only about 6 or 7 tenths off. So that's a really good performance from this brand new tire that debuted here in North American competition, at least here this weekend.
One thing that I'm looking forward to seeing, though, is what it looks like after the pit stops, because in qualifying, remember, it took a few laps to get them into the window. Some of that was trying to go through an ideal warm-up process. I suspect they'll have to be a bit more on it immediately out of the pits, but we've not seen this tire here in the States on right out of the pits after a tire change. So that will be something new for us when that takes place here in just a few minutes.
I think one of the thoughts with this new generation of tire was that we're not using tire warmers any longer. So I think the design thought going in was that this would be a tire that would come up to life a little bit quicker, because you're starting with a much lower temperature leaving pit lane, obviously, than if the tires have been in blankets or ovens. So wait and see. I think to your point, a lot of that slow laps, the belief was if you treat them kindly on the opening lap or two, that they'll not degrade quite as quickly or fall off a cliff halfway through the stint, and we've certainly not seen that in the race today at all.
Leaders coming by pit entry now, not quite in that window, and these cars I don't think we'd expect to come in anyway, but 44 seconds behind is where you find Jeff Burton. You take 44 seconds off the clock and you're pretty close to being able to call Jeff in, are you not?
Yeah, you certainly are. I mean, 51.26 is the number I have here, so we're getting pretty close to that, and he may be inside that window. He could be pitting this very, very lap. Yeah, there you see him. You see the clock wind down. Could come in right now, and he's a couple of 100 yards from pit entry. If they got their math right, they should send him down pit lane right now.
Let's see what they do.
Oh, no, they don't. They weren't comfortable with that.
I think there's
See,
a
that
case
was a
to be
bit of a
made.
miscalculation there.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you were slightly beyond, you could always sit stationary for a second or two, and that's a second or two that I anticipate Philip Ellis would be able to overcome.
Yeah, you'd have to feel that Philip Ellis is normally about a 3-second delta between he and Jeff, so they just left, in my mind at least, 3 seconds on the board.
Well, Jeff doing a nice job nevertheless, doing exactly what his job is in this second race of the weekend. He knows he's not going to go wheel to wheel with a bunch of the pros, but as long as he can keep them within striking distance, he knows he's got a driver in Philip Ellis who can take him to the front. Same story here. This is Marcelo Hahn, the other of the two Pro-Am cars that elect to use this inverted strategy, and Marcelo will be turning over to his son Christian, who has been awfully quick since debuting in the championship at VIR.
He had a couple of bobbles there, a couple of incidents, rode off a chassis on the practice day there, but has shown incredible pace, looked really good yesterday, in fact, in race conditions.
Marcelo out, Christian in for the AF Corsa team. Synonymous with Ferrari racing all around the world, prototypes and GTs. Now that car was about 20 seconds further behind Jeff Burton, and this is the risk, I suppose, of calling him in here, as you now are a lap down to the leaders and could get trapped there potentially in the event of a full course yellow. But nevertheless, now this is interesting. Both of the Random Vandals cars coming in at the first opportunity, and they do so side by side. Wonder if they are flipping around here for better entry into their respective pit boxes because the 51 was ahead on the racetrack.
Yeah, and if you go by the pit lane protocol, Di Filippi's supposed to give it up to allow Oberlin enter his pit box, so maybe this is somewhat orchestrated. Otherwise, you're going to have a very frustrated Bill Oberlin. Very unique pit entry. You got 2 lanes essentially that allows this to happen. So it seemed like Connor really charged up the hill and got alongside his teammate. See, that was awkward. That would not have been orchestrated. So that was just something that Connor elected to do. And I'm not sure he's going to appeal a team car, but by rights, he should have given Bill Oberlin right away there.
These two team cars had a disagreement over real estate, let's say, at Circuit of the Americas, didn't they, earlier in the season?
That's right. I think it was Connor and Varun at the time behind the wheel.
I think you're right. Here is the regulator team, 1 lap later than we thought they might make the call, but Jeff Burton, his job is done, and now he gets to sit and watch with the rest of us while Philip Ellis works his magic. That is once Philip is fully belted in. Jeff helping with that process now. Meanwhile, the P0's going on and the fuel going in. Now, the positions have changed between the team cars in the pit stops, haven't they?
Yeah. Knowing Bill Oberlin and how much of a competitor is, I'm not sure he'd want to be hearing about team orders with our championship leader, given that track position coming in. Now we see Mikel Grenier peeling off, so they're obviously confident in Mackay Stevens' pace to be making this move right now. Jan Halen the same way for RS1. Of course, if there is a yellow, you could have a little bit of an advantage if these leaders are bundled up behind a safety car and can't run at their full pace. That could pay off.
Remind me what the minimum pit lane delta is this weekend.
It is 86 seconds.
Okay. So the 2 Vandals cars for Kitten Cook, it was 86.7. A little bit longer for the Oberlin Choxy changeover. But everybody who's pitted so far is on the right side of that minimum. Let's watch this, leaving the pit lane between the 2 teammates. That is tight. If there's any overlap, it's the car on the outside that gets the right of way, so that's why Kitten Cook was able to come on through. But the same is supposed to be true, as I understood it, on the entry to the pits, and we did not see that take place.
That was the point, but again, they're 2 team cars. I can't imagine that Paul Sparta is going to be marching down to race control and complaining about it.
There's Grenier out of the Pro Class leading car into the pits as well. RS1, Alex Sedgwick now in. Scored his first 2 GT3 wins the last time out at VIR.
Cool. The orchestration there on dumping the car on the deck was like that right front was barely tight when the car was going down.
Pretty good stop for JMF. They had about a second of wiggle room, similar for RS1, 9/10 over the minimum, so that is safe.
You get deeper into this season, those teams typically, there's always a chance of a mistake, typically are able to tighten those things up.
Now maybe we know why the 91 was alongside coming into the pits. Maybe they didn't get it wound up in time. Stop and go drive-through penalty for car 91 for a pit lane speed violation.
Yeah, and it says it there, speed. So it was speed coming in. So I'm not sure if Connor just rushed up the hill and got it wrong. Just didn't want to run into the back of his teammate, and that's why he ended up alongside him.
I'm sorry, 91 is Philip Ellis and Jeff Burton. That's my mistake.
That's right, 99.
I set you up for that one.
No problem.
99 is Connor Di Filippi, so that mystery still remains to be solved. But this is a big setback here for Ellis and Burton. They were in prime position, I think, to get a pretty good result. Don't know if the speeding was on the way in or on the way out, but this is a long pit lane, plus you have the stop. It's not just a drive-through.
It's easier to make that mistake on the way in because you have a pit lane speed limiter, but you can still overshoot it. You know what I mean? It's not going to break you more. It's just when you slow down enough, it doesn't allow you to exceed the 50K speed limit. So typically it's on the way in, and after what was a beautiful driving stint, plus 19 kilometers an hour is what we're hearing. So that's a massive overshoot there for Jeff. That's such a shame, because he did a really great job. I'll make it tough, but still a yellow can get them in the game. Yep.
That is the truth. Not done yet with 44 minutes still on the clock. How much longer can these front runners go before they need to make their stops?
It needs to be no less than 40 minutes on the board. Got 90-minute race, 50 minutes max. Do the math there. You got to be 40 minutes or more before you cut the marker or the stripe on pit entry. You don't have to be done with the service, you just have to be on pit lane. Your drive time stops when you hit that stripe at the top of the hill.
At least then, for the front runners, they can get one more lap in.
Yeah, couldn't get two.
Matt Bell, haven't talked about him a whole lot, but he's been in control of this race. Had some pressure from Mikhail Grenier in the opening stint, but when JMF elected to pit that car, get them out of traffic, and has turned Matt Bell loose. Leads by 4 seconds. Here comes Foley now. This stop will be longer by regulation. Abandons the racetrack after a strong run. And they'll get Justin Rothberg in championship leading car.
Yeah, and I think Foley did some amazing work there. I think he's kind of built more than that 5-second buffer over some of those cars that will be chasing him, like the 32 and the 88, that stay out for that final lap before they've got to hit pit lane. So it's really a great stint there by Robbie Foley to set up his teammate Justin Rothberg and see if they can manage to control that points deficit that they're probably going to lose to the 11 car, but still a lot of work to do yet before the checkered flag here this afternoon.
Here comes the lone remaining M-Class car, Oz Negri. His job is done. Jay Schreibman will climb aboard, just bringing it home at this stage. Their race win is locked in, but as we chronicled earlier in the show, Eric Powell did do a handful of laps in Turner Motorsports' spare BMW to secure at least second place points for Scott Dolehide after his big crash yesterday and the damage to their Ford Mustang that could not be repaired here at the racetrack. So the other AF Corsa car in the pits, Turner Motorsport going to work as well.
Here we come, down through the kink for the final run on this stint for Matt Bell, our leader. Great job by Oz Negri. His fast lap, only just a second off the fast lap of the day. Guy now in his 60s, that's amazing stuff.
And in a car that probably isn't set up tailor-made for Oz either. A lot of consideration is given to the AMs in these Pro-Am lineups, and Jay Schreibman in his first full season of GT3 racing still probably learning what it takes to be comfortable in one of these cars.
He feels good this weekend, though. He said he's feeling a lot fitter. He is struggling with that leg injury for a couple of rounds there, and he said, I'm back on it. His marker is, I'd like to be within 3 seconds of Oz, and that's really his goal.
All the pit stops looked pretty clean.
Here come the final few.
Yep, needs to happen. Has to be now, and everyone who owes a stop now has peeled off and enters the pits. So of those that have pitted, Mackay Stevens, he's the leader of that group. Here he is, about a minute and a half behind Matt Bell at the time that Matt came into the pits. So here's Stevens through the carousel. Meanwhile, Bell's in the pits. Yeah,
this is hammer time. This is when you earn your money, getting that car going when the tires are really not in their sweet spot. He'll be pushing. He won't be worrying about managing tires right now. He's just going to try and push as hard as he can, try and get that overall lead here after these final cars come out of the pits and control and manage this Pro Class win.
DXDT crew busy this week. They've been doing some testing at Indianapolis with a couple different programs, and then here, of course, with their GT World Challenge America program. So split operation, but still operating at a very high level as Stevens comes out of 14, but now it's that long front straightaway. We'll see how much of this traffic he can overlap. Good job by DXDT. Looks like McDonald's going to come out with the overall lead. No problems there.
Yeah, but just think about this. I think by the time they get to turn 5, you got to feel that Mackay Stevens is going to be right there with the heat that he has in his tires.
Well, you said it was hammer time. He just did the best lap of the race at 2:06 flat. So Mackay Stevens answering the bell.
Big time. There you can see Rothberg. He's ahead of a bundle of the Pro-Am cars. So great job by Robbie Foley, and he's also getting some Pro cars between he and some of those Pro-Am entries as well. So Great damage limitation there by Turner Motorsports. Rothberg up against Newell now. That's a battle. Here we talk about turn 5. There it is. Mackay Stevens through, gets the Corvette.
For the overall lead of the race, Pro Class leader to the front of the field. Corvette, though, still leading in Pro-Am. And once everyone cycles through at the completion of this lap, we'll know what the gaps are. Rothberg trying to get up to speed, as is Gray Newell. Meanwhile, they've got some Pro Class cars that need to get some track position, trying to carve their way through.
Kenton Cook up to the inside. That's where he won a GT3 race in that very corner here about 3 weeks ago. So cut and paste that move. Kenton Cook on the charge right now.
A couple of cars that lost some time with slower pit stops. GMG, Kyle Washington climbing aboard. That was considerably slower, almost 10 seconds slower than it needed to be.
Where was the Turner car? They had to do 91 seconds versus 86.
They were good. I saw that earlier. They did it in, I think, 92 seconds or something to that effect. Here's Gray Newell, though, getting comfortable in the car, having just climbed aboard. The driver just fresh out of this Corvette is Matt Bell, and DJ has caught up with the Pro-Am class leader.
DXDT Racing leading Pro-Am, and we were just talking a little bit, Matt Bell, a mistake-free, a problem-free weekend in DXDT, back to where they were.
Yeah, no, it's been a great weekend for us so far. You know, the car was singing all weekend. Yeah, P1, FP1, pole position, and then, yeah, just a nice smooth stint there, stayed green, no problems. So, yeah, it's always nerve-wracking at the start. You know, there's high quality on this grid and those factory drivers and top-level pros galore. But once I got through those first 2 corners, it was just head down and focus forward. And DXDT guys gave me a great Corvette GT3 car to rip around Road America, so I was really happy.
We're happy to see you up there, Matt. We'll let you get watching the race.
Cheers, thank you.
37 minutes still on the clock. Look at this battle. 4th, 5th, and 6th in Pro-Am. Ross Schwest, a winner earlier today in GT America, up against his typical sparring mate in that series, Kyle Washington, who tries to roll the outside, and Todd Coleman, an interested spectator as well in the Archangel McLaren. That looks to the inside of Washington now here for position.
Yeah, Washington getting pretty feisty there. He just focused forward on Ross Schwest, and then suddenly saw Todd Coleman there trying to take advantage down at the inside in turn 3.
Really close stuff between this trio. Schwest covers off the inside into 5. Washington in the Porsche follows his line. And Coleman looking really, really strong. He slipped back quite a bit in his stint yesterday, even before he was caught up in that accident. But whatever was ailing him, that seems to be a thing of the past now. He's looking like he's back on his horse and with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and looked like Mike Johnson and the crew there have really got a great car underneath him for Todd Coleman, and certainly for Aaron's opening stint there. Aaron had a lot of pace as the fast lap of the race till that was ripped away from him by Mackay Stevens' hammer time lap there when he got those fresh P0s midway through this race.
Coleman comes in with background in Ferrari Challenge, but he's heaped a bunch of different experiences together in the last year or so, driving in multiple series all around the world.
Big run through the kink there, all over the tail of Washington.
And he's got the momentum here, trying to find a way by. Washington himself is plotting a course around Ross Schwest in the Chevy Corvette, but neither able to make a move. Schwest has the measure of them as we look at our best times through Sector 2 so far, and it's the number 34 JMF Mercedes that has the bragging rights through the middle part of the racetrack.
Yeah, and don't discount Jason Daskalos in the backdrop. He's gained almost 2 seconds through the first 2 sectors here on this lap to that group in front of him.
They did not have the quickest of pit stops either. That was another car that lost some ground in the pit lane. Daskalos down in 7th right now, having run right around 5th or 6th for the bulk of this race so far. Here comes Coleman looking inside, pokes back out to the outside and then back in line as Schwest goes wide at the exit of turn number 1, but Washington wasn't close enough to take advantage.
Washington then middle of the road down into the brake zone. That made compromising getting back to power through turn 3, but he manages to get it done. Settles back in. Ross Schwest has got to have a ton of confidence and momentum from that big win in GT America this morning. Serve him well the extra track time for he and Washington for that matter.
And to have spent time as the race leader earlier today, and to be thinking about gaps and thinking about pressure and not letting it get to him. Great preparation for the task at hand, which is to hold off Kyle Washington and Todd Coleman and probably Jason Daskelos before it's all said and done over the final 34 minutes.
Excuse me, Daskelos took 3.5 seconds out of the gap there to this trio that are fighting it out, so they just need to settle down, otherwise it's going to be a 4-car battle here.
It might be inevitable. Daskelos has looked comfortable all weekend long. They've been smiling all weekend long after a tough weekend by their own admission on pace at VIR. Got decent results, a couple of top 5s, but never really felt on top of the car. Here at Road America, though, a different story. Here he comes. Jason Daskelos reeling in this battle between Coleman and Washington.
Yeah, he's got a huge head of steam here. You see these battling out. They're really compromising their racing lines and slowing each other up effectively. You see Rosh West has just escaped their attention and has allowed Daskelos to be right there. He's going to be looking for a way through in at the entry to turn 1, I feel.
Didn't take him long, did it? Totally erased that deficit, and here he comes. The car started by Isaac Sherman. The two of them combined last year to be the winningest tandem across multiple championships in the SRO paddock, and now they're combining their forces here this year in GT World Challenge America. That was Sherman watching on with a smile on his face because he knows Jason Daskelos is more than capable of racing his way up through this pack.
Yeah, and I had a good chat with Jason the other night at the parade here in Elkhart Lake. And he said, I really haven't been enjoying it. Last couple of weekends have been tough on me at Sebring and at VIR. The car wasn't a lot of fun to drive, but that was at the end of a test day here on Thursday. And he said, feeling good again. I think we're going to have a strong weekend, and that was prophetic.
3 straight top 5 finishes for Sherman and Daskelos for what might be the smallest team in this Pro-Am grid. But with a lot of experience and a lot of heart, all led by Nick Short, who's been at the helm of this program for a long, long time. They've settled down a little bit, though, Washington and Coleman, and that has allowed them to make some inroads. And Rosh West looks a little bit closer than he did this time a lap ago.
Yeah, I think the speed has been there, but they were just so focused on each other. They were forgetting about lap time for a while there, and that allowed Ross to escape a little bit and Jason to close in. But it's one thing catching. As soon as you get this close in these high-speed corners, you get that little bit of aero wash. You got to make some adjustments. That can sometimes make you lose the confidence in the race car. You don't feel it so much underneath you. And Kyle there, very conservative with his track out position. That's really put him under pressure here with Coleman. Coleman looking for a way through. This is getting pretty feisty here and dicey at the same time.
Coleman looking impatient, looking left, looking right. The trouble is that section of the track, it might be full throttle, but it's by no means straight, and there's a lot of ways you can cleverly position your car to make it difficult to make a pass.
Well, the problem if the car in front of you is not getting through that really high-speed kink at the normal rate, you come up on it and you're lifting off right at a critical point where the car is fully loaded and can unsettle the race car.
It's effectively what happened to Todd yesterday when he was trying to avoid Scott Dollahide's spinning car. A lift at Apex, and the rear swapped ends with him, and he nosed into the barrier, ended their day early. No fault of his own, really, trying to avoid the accident up in front of him, but looking pretty confident here. But so too is Daskelos, who has arrived now in that black and maroon machine at the tail end of this train. We are watching positions 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the Pro-Am class, effectively nose to tail with 30 minutes to go. Second place overall now changing hands as Alex Sedgwick carves to the inside of Blake McDonald, and not too terribly far behind is the first of the Random Vandals BMWs. That is Kenton Cook, and the car started by Connor DeFilippi, up to third in class. Needs to get to the Porsche of Sedgwick, though, to gain another class position.
Yeah, that was important there for Sedgwick to make that move by McDonald and try and escape the clutches of Kenton Cook. They're going to eat into the championship lead. They've got to finish ahead of the 99, and you know that Kenton's got other ideas about that happening here this afternoon. Still nearly 30 minutes left in this motor race.
Interesting how much stronger in the second stint. This car seems to be getting, though, at the height of his powers right now, and that is on full display. Back to this battle. Schwest again with some breathing room. Daskalos has dropped off the battling pair of Washington and Coleman. Coleman not close enough this time.
Schwest has been super disciplined. Just looks really neat and tidy here this weekend. The cars get closer. It doesn't seem to rattle him. He just hits his marks, does his thing. I think there's potentially a little bit more speed behind him in those two race cars, but I think Coleman's being stymied a little bit by Washington, who's pretty feisty out there. He's adapting some different driving lines down into some of these corners to make sure he doesn't open up the door on the McLaren. And Daskalos seems like he stalled out a little bit, had that big charge up to the tail of these cars, but now I'm not sure if it's affecting the aero on his Mercedes or not, but he doesn't seem to be able to get into the fight.
And again, at the head of this train is Ross Schwest, who's watching this take place out the rear view camera. Coleman lets it run wide, gets a nice run out of turn 3 this time. Washington gives him just enough room to pull alongside. This will be the outside, though, into the braking zone for 5.
It'll be the last of the outbreakers down here. Coleman's on the grippier part of the racetrack where the rubber's at, and he cuts across, carves it to apex. Nicely judged. Beautiful move there by Todd Coleman.
Really outstanding stuff from Todd. Now Daskalos trying to line Washington up as well. Kyle's having none of that. He's not going to go without a scrap.
Good clean driving there by Kyle as well. Realized he was vulnerable, was on the dirtier side of the racetrack, admittedly the inside, but recognized he couldn't force his braking there. Moves over a little bit, gets back on line. I think he's feeling a little bit rattled right now. He's got to settle in. He needs his teammate Tom Sargent and James Safronis just to talk him through this heat of the battle.
Remember, that car is wounded. Contact with the McLaren, actually, that just got by in the opening stint. 2 different drivers at the wheel at the time. And the Porsche got the worst of it. Ripped off a little chunk on the right front, which includes the dive plane. So you would think aerodynamically it might be at a bit of a disadvantage, but Washington has been able to coax some pace out of that car since climbing aboard. Here's Kenton Cook now to the inside of Blake McDonald. This is for 3rd overall. McDonald not putting up too much of a fight because he's got plenty of gap back to the next car in his class, which is Rothberg, all the way down in 6th overall.
Yeah, and that's about a 10-second gap there back to the next Pro-Am car. So doing exactly what their game plan was. Matt Bell from the pole, controlling the race, handing it over with a healthy gap back to the 29 machine. Obviously, that gap was doubled with the extra time on the pit lane for the 29 car. Otherwise, it would be about 5.
Daskalos got a great run out of 14 and pulled alongside the Porsche. That was pretty tidy, although it did get wide on the exit. Does Washington have enough to counterattack? He does not, and Daskalos makes sure of it by positioning that Mercedes in the center of the circuit. Holds on to the spot. That is the change now of 6th place. Put Daskalos up a spot, Washington down to 7th now.
Yeah, that was very smooth move there by Daskalos. And you can see the pace that Coleman's now displaying. Now he's escaped the clutches of Washington. Can Coleman chase down Schwest and make a move for P4? Long way to go to get to Gray Newell. He's some 17 seconds ahead of Ross Schwest for that final step on the podium here in Pro-Am this afternoon.
Imagine if he were able to hang on and get the podium with the way the weekend started for Heart of Racing, with the big crash for Darren Turner. Yesterday was a hard-fought 6th place result, but today Turner had a good opening stint, came through the field, and Newell's been right on the pace ever since he got into that race car.
He really has. I think Gray's really developed himself to a really good GT3 driver. Here comes Todd Coleman, big run through the carousel. That McLaren is really hooked up through there.
Interesting note from race control real quick. Daskalos will have to give that position back to Washington. He
That was track limits.
Taken an advantage by exceeding those track limits.
They won't be called unless you have a distinct advantage, and I think by finishing off that move on Carl Washington, he used all of that escape route there in turn 1, and that's the call. So they won't call it if you're just out there by yourself, but if you gain an advantage, like track position, then they will reorder like they're doing right now.
Let's look at it again. Keep an eye on the 27 here and how wide he runs at the exit of turn 1.
Very shallow approach, which means big wide radius coming off, can't control the track limits, completes the pass, and that got the attention of the race director.
Varun Choksi, the next to line up Blake McDonald, and Choksi makes the pass. Coleman fighting here and getting awfully wide himself with Raj Schwest. Clearly, Daskalos has yet to give that position back because here he comes.
I'm not sure he's got the message yet. For Todd Coleman, looked like he did a really nice job there of being patient, setting up the exit, really wide approach to the corner, really trying to maximize his speed. Down this run through the moraine sweep into the brake zone. He's on the grippier part of the racetrack. Got to be careful here to coexist.
Maybe a little touch there, but the two carry on. Schwest able to hang on to the spot. 4th and 5th up for grabs with Daskalos right there for position 2, although he still needs to get behind the Kyle Washington car at the order of race control.
So I could hear a little lift there by Schwest, and Coleman dives down the inside. Can he keep it together? Yes, he does. They're going to accelerate. Oh, he needs to, oh, that was tight. I'm not sure if he realized that Schwest had got to his left flank there as they turned into the carousel.
In any
you
event,
kind of lose sight of the cars a little bit through there.
Certainly. In any event, well judged, and Todd Coleman continues his charge up through the field. What a great stint from Todd. Some fantastic passing and demonstrating his racecraft now, just demonstrating the raw speed in that McLaren.
Well, he's been so quick through the carousel and through the kink all day long, but typically he's got cars that he's got to drive over the top of to showcase that speed. Now he's got clean air. Watch him go.
Daskalos has been able to give that position back to Kyle Washington, so now he'll go back to work trying to get the spot back.
Great scrappy little battle here.
Talked a little bit about Gray Newell earlier. This team is starting to get into the kind of form they expected. First full season of GT3 racing for Gray Newell, so great to have a veteran like Darren, who you see there, frame right, to help coach him along. This would be a 3rd podium in the last 4 races if they were able to hang on there and finish in the top 3 today.
Yeah, really starting to find their stride. Great to see Darren over here full time. He's competed many times here in North America, of course, but great to see him back full time. He's enjoying it. He said it's a great team, kind of a family atmosphere. I think in Gray Newell, he's got a great protege to work with, and yeah, Ian really feels there's a better fit. Gray worked with Roman DeAngelis, another young driver. He said, I feel the veteran of Darren just gets Gray's attention a little bit more. And he said it seems to be working well.
This might be at the back of the pack, but it's still awfully fierce. Marcelo Hahn trying to hang on to 13th overall with Philip Ellis having, excuse me, that's Christian Hahn, with Philip Ellis having run him down over the past few laps. Christian's done well to keep Philip behind for a couple of corners, but this looks inevitable. Philip, great exit from turn 3. He'll take this spot in the run down to turn 5, and now just needs to cover the inside. Hahn will try the outside line, but it's not enough. The recovery, one step further forward for Philip Ellis in regulator racing after that stop and go penalty that they received for a pit lane speed violation.
Tell you what's surprising though, typically we're used to Philip Ellis lighting up the screens with purple sectors, purple fast race laps. His fast lap today is a 2:06.3. Fastest lap of the day, Mackay Stevens at 2:05.6. I tell you what, the team manager there, Danny Koch, is just marvels about the fact that Mackay Stevens, despite the limited experience aboard one of these Mercedes, can compete with his teammate Michael Grenier and Philip Ellis almost on an equal level right now in his debut season.
It's been a remarkable rookie year in GT3 for Mackay Stevens. One on debut, has another win that he's notched on the belt as well. And this could be a third race win on the season if they can keep things going. Daskalos will try this again.
He's out of bounds again. He's going to have to give it up.
Yeah, just barely. But there's that vertical or perpendicular curbing, I guess you would say, perpendicular to the racing surface. And if you get outside of that, that's typically what's deemed in excess of track limits. So we'll see what the stewards think of this one. Isaac Sherman, I'm sure, has thoughts.
Well, I know my eyes aren't that good at my age, but to me it was a no-brainer. He was definitely outside of those perpendicular white lines there. There's a change of surface as well that you can see and differentiate where you should or should not be.
Kyle Washington just needs to stay close because this could get flopped back his way again before it's all said and done. Just under 20 minutes to go here in race number 2 of the weekend. And there it is, the message. Reorder 27 behind 32. And Cal, talk us through what we need to be looking at as it relates to the track limits.
Yeah, here we go, up into turn 1, and just watch the right-hand side tires of Jason Daskell as he comes through this corner. See these perpendicular white lines sticking out there. You've got to have some part or a tire touching those, and he's outside of that. You can also see a change of color in the general black top as well. There's a change of surface at exactly the end of those white tips. Sherman's frustrated. He realized he's got to reorder behind Washington before he can get by him again and then even think about chasing down Schwest and Coleman.
It's frustrating because it was a matter of, what, a half an inch? Wasn't much.
Yeah.
But the consequences are massive for this car, for Jason Daskelos.
Just needs to do it as quick as he can. You know, don't waste time here. And try and think about doing it in a spot on the racetrack where you let him by, but you can easily go back on the attack.
Washington trying to close back in. There's plenty of pace in that Mercedes, isn't there? We just haven't really been able to see it. Running in traffic, and then with some of these swap-arounds that we've been chronicling. And Jay Schreiber continues to pound around. It's been a good year for Jay. As you mentioned earlier, little leg injury earlier in the season. Wasn't at his best, but that seems to be behind him, and always has the big smile on his face whenever you bump into Jay in the paddock.
Yeah, he's a great personality. I really enjoy spending a bit of time with him. Got to know him this year, of course. And he's got a great teammate, mentor in Oz Negri. See, right now, by yourself like he just did, that's out of bounds, but you're not gaining anything from it in terms of track position, so he won't get dinged on that. But getting back to his pace, he said, I'd love to be within 3 seconds of Oz. Oz ran low 207s, he's running low 210, so that's right in his wheelhouse of where he expects to be.
Yep, exactly. And that team has expressed its plans to contest the Indy 8 Hour as an AM lineup, in large part because Scott Dolehite has emerged as a contender and challenger for that championship. Last year, running a partial schedule, they elected to move up to Pro-Am, drafting in Tony Vilander, which was awesome. Great to have Tony back racing in SRO America after so many years in Pirelli World Challenge back in the day. But that's not going to be the case this year. They're looking for another bronze they can add to the trio, or to create a trio.
Double points for that one, so there's only 3 rounds to go, but still 100 points on the table after the checkered flag here tonight.
Here's the leader in the Pro-Am class, Blake McDonald. Matt Bell set the table, starting on pole position, controlled the opening part of this race. McDonald, very prudent in allowing the Pro Class cars to come through, and actually doing a nice job to keep Varun Choksi honest. Varun hasn't exactly disappeared up the road, but if we wait, and it's quite a wait, about 8 seconds, you get to second place in the class. Here is Justin Rothberg, and the car started by Robbie Foley. And for Justin, it has not been the most straightforward of weekends, has it? Had the big crash, didn't he? That was in GT America. But credit to the young driver, able to bounce right back.
I'm hearing a misfire on this from one of the high cams. I can hear a misfire on one of these cars accelerating. I'm not sure if it's Rothberg's car or not.
Rothberg's lap time the last time by was a little bit slower.
Maybe it's the overrun on the Aston that I'm hearing versus Rothberg accelerating. Yeah, I think that could have been it. It was like the 2 cars were close enough. It was like I was hearing something from a car on a part of a racetrack where it shouldn't be.
Tell you what, though, at the pace they are going, Gray Newell, I think, would catch Rothberg, by the end of this race, he's, what, 4 seconds or so behind? And was half a second faster on the last lap. Speaking of fast laps, you mentioned this earlier, Cal. Mackay Stevens with the fastest lap of the race.
This is a statement.
Yep.
I think your disappointment from yesterday with having the track position in the grid spot and lost a couple of positions early in the race, but he's a young man who really thinks about his racecraft and has come back even stronger here today, and this is huge. For him to be going out there and putting down lap times, admittedly different stint, different set of tires than his teammate, but lap times that are quicker than him, but equally so. Philip Ellis has got fresh Pirelli P0s on, same track conditions, and he's been a solid chunk ahead of that. That's saying something. Not many people do that.
No, not in equal machinery, not on the same weekend at the same time.
He told me this weekend, he said, I just got to start to trust myself. He said, I'm still overthinking driving the race car. Just let it flow. Just let it be more natural.
Well, here's a question for you. You mentioned that Mackay thinks deeply about his racing. I think you could say he thinks deeply about everything. He's a unique character in the paddock. Certainly not your run-of-the-mill racing driver. Sometimes, I mean, I'm sure that pays dividends for him as Daskalos here is deciding not to try the pass in turn 1 this time. We'll try this someplace else. We'll get to the Mackay Stevens thought in a moment. Here he comes now, weaving back and forth, and does get alongside Kyle Washington in the wounded Porsche. See if Daskalos can finish the move off this time.
Kyle Washington has had anything but a quiet day. He had some action this morning in the GT America race, and he's been in a fight all day long here. It's been probably enjoying this.
Oh, yeah.
Got a big smile on his face. He's a racer.
Both of these guys, actually, I would put in the category of drivers that love the fight. They love the parry and thrust of a wheel-to-wheel competition. They don't just like to hot lap, they want to be in the middle of the battle, and that's exactly where they found themselves.
Carl there seems to be a little bit deep, runs a little bit wide. Just really attacks every brake zone, it seems, which is good. But then you just got to do that fine-tuning again. We talked about that progress that he made through the first half of the season. I hate to harp on about it, but I really think that mid-season break hurt Carl's performance a little bit coming back at VIR, and also we're seeing it here a little bit this weekend. In certain corners, the approach is a little bit, it's too sporadic, do you know what I mean? It's not as fine-tuned as I'd call it as it was earlier in the season.
And that's the tough thing for these non-professional drivers when you have the big break as we did in the middle of the season. If you're not constantly in the car and you're busy doing the other things that are important in your life, running your business, things like that, it's easy for some of those lessons to start to slip away and atrophy over a lengthy break.
Absolutely.
Well, we've seen this movie a few times. How about the sequel, or at least the third leg of this installment here? Daskalos will try the outside again.
I think he just needs to try and time the crossover here. He's too close to do it, though. He just misjudged that a little bit.
Yep.
Carl, by going deep on the brakes, kind of overslowed the car at apex, which kind of mistimed that move for Daskalos coming off the corner.
A good run out of 3 this time. He was close down to 5 the last time. Washington covers off the right-hand side of the track, which opens up this side, which becomes the inside, but the Porsche is stout in a straight line, even with the damage on the nose. Will Daskalos take the lunge?
Oh, Carl's in deep. Can he get it wound down? Woo! That was wild. Rodeo style through that corner.
Oh, this is really tight between the
There's
two.
a
I think a little more contact there.
Yeah, there was a touch, I think.
Up into the rev limiter as well.
Yeah, you get a bit frazzled.
Yep. Daskalos finally is through. And as of yet, no word about any review from race control on this one.
I think I'll be under review, though, because I think there was a bump, and if we saw it, typically race control wants another look at it. If there was a bump and run, I don't know. We see a 3 reorder. I'm not sure we've ever seen that happen, but
no,
who knows?
Even 2 is maybe a bit excessive. But Daskalos for now does have 6th place. All right, let's break this one down, Cal. What are you looking at?
Okay, coming up the hill. They were side by side. I mean, Kyle still had his nose in front when the touch happened.
Daskalos wasn't exactly down to the apex either.
I'd say it's 60-40. It could get hit again in terms of the stewards making a decision against him.
Well, if we get the message, we'll pass it along. I think Sherman, not sure what he's thinking at this point.
I don't know what it takes for Isaac to start throwing stuff, but I think if it comes up, it could get to that point.
Oh, man. Well, Jason has started to disappear off into the distance, and I think, again, let's give Kyle Washington his kudos here because that car is not totally right.
I haven't seen nothing flash up on the screen that it's under review, let alone a reorder instruction.
If I could, Cal, I'd like to double back on the Mackay Stevens conversation. 22-second lead. We were talking about him as a deep thinker. A conversation with Mackay can veer into the esoteric pretty quickly. And I know that in a lot of respects that benefits him because his analytical approach helps him find weakness in his game and take a step forward. But the old saying, paralysis by analysis comes to mind. Is there ever the risk with a driver of his intellect that you could end up getting inside your own head from time to time?
I think it's feasible, but I think he's also smart. Ooh, that was a mistake there by Daskalos. Big mistake. I think he missed his braking point, tried to shallow the entry, got up over the curb, probably got into the ABS.
Or is there something technically amiss with the car? Could that be a result of the contact? Car off to the side of the road. This was the 6th placed car in the class.
That was a little bizarre there. It looked like he was deep on the brakes, or whether he had a technical issue, couldn't get the car slowed down, but it looked like he's carrying. Initial thought when I saw it was too much speed, shallowed the entry to try and deal with that. Let's take another look at it. I'm sure there, remember, when you use those curbs, you can always get kicked back on the brake pedal. Oh yeah, he's definitely got a little, it's like he's got no front brakes almost, like it was all rear brake. The tail was trying to swap ends on him.
A good piece of driving to keep it off of the concrete, and we go full course yellow.
Wow.
With under 7 minutes to go. This should not be a long cleanup. Now, they are long safety car laps, but we could be in a position for at least one lap under green. We will see.
I doubt it, mate. The trouble is, by the time you get the safety car out there and get them packed up, and there's a 4-minute safety car lap here.
If you're Mackay Stevens, you back this down right here, don't you?
Well, let me think about this. Yeah, I mean, if the safety car's ready to go and arrest him, take as long as you can to get to that pit out mode.
I think that's what the situation is here. Yeah, I think the safety car would be just waiting at this stage. Well, hate this for Jason Daskalos and Isaac Sherman. 3 straight top 5 finishes, and this one looked like it would have at least been a 6th. But at least the car is in one piece. That was a good piece of driving by Jason to make sure that the car was preserved and they didn't make any contact.
Yes, first view that we got of, I thought, oh, he just got in there with too much speed. Then you could see that the issue was he's trying to arrest the speed. Like there's some sort of technical issue. There's the safety car waiting to pick them up.
Yeah, this was smart from JMF. There goes Isaac Sherman, dejected, walking back to the paddock. 5.5 minutes to go. This one looks like it's likely to end behind the safety car, but now a chance to check in with DJ in the pits.
Yeah, Ryan, I just had a chance to talk to CRP Racing. They are not entirely sure what happened to Jason Daskalos. They know something broke in the rear suspension, and that is about it at this point. But heartbreak for this team that was having such a good result today.
Yeah, and a string of good results as well. They'll pack up and head on to the next one at Barber Motorsports Park, though, with a lot of confidence with the way they've been running as of late.
Well, you'd think that you run at a track like Sebring, it's as rough as you get through the runoff areas, let's call it that, like the track out period at turn 1 all of the time for the whole lap. So I'm not sure it could be that, but certainly he's had a few runs out wide through turn 1. He's using a lot of the curb around this racetrack to get lap time, so. But not pointing the finger at anyone in terms of whether it's a driver or team related, but it's a disappointment because they came into this weekend with a lot of hope after the test days and practice here this weekend.
It also stymies Gray Newell's charge. He was slowly reeling in Justin Rothberg. So Rothberg, after all of this, what's been a trying weekend, this time I think he will get second place behind the safety car. Yesterday it looked like he was set for second, but the time penalty that came their way post-race dropped them to 7th. Losing ground a little bit to McDonald, but limiting the damage here this weekend are Rothberg, Foley, and the Turner team.
Yeah, that is for sure. Just curious to see if there's any chance they can get that car just dragged out of harm's way so that we get the lights off them. The safety car is going to be a wild final lap. You think about potential here. You know that Kenton Cook's going to be going for it big time, trying to charge his way through this pro class field. Think about Philip Ellis, who's now, what, 7th in the Pro-Am field. He's going to go on the big attack mode as well.
We're past the incident area here. The intention, Calvin, is to restart this race if possible. That is the goal. Race control will assess the cleanup, and if it is indeed taken care of in time, then we will get
Lights are out.
a restart of this race with just 1 lap to go. The lights go out now, but if this is not cleaned up for whatever reason, race control reserves the right, I am told, to put the lights back on and delay the restart. So hustle up, guys. Let's see this thing end under green if we possibly can.
It's getting close.
Mm-hmm.
Getting really close.
Just a question of where the closest cutout is to get that car to a safe
left,
spot.
I think.
I think so
Just
too.
drive straight across the racetrack, left side. I think there's one there.
I think we should be in decent shape for a 1-lap shootout. So yeah, all eyes on Philip Ellis. Don't discount Christian Hahn. He's pretty quick too on that same alternate strategy as regulator racing. They restart 7th and 8th in class.
Does Rothberg look forward or backwards?
That's a good question. Not sure he had the pace to challenge Blake McDonald today. There goes the safety car. Mackay Stevens, it's not done yet. He's going to have to earn this one. Alex Sedgwick, can he pry a victory away from Stevens late in the going?
Watch Kenton Cook, 3rd car in line here. First of the 2 green and white BMWs. Going to try and get a monster run here off this final corner. Put some pressure on Sedgwick by the time they get to turn 1.
Those BMWs were dynamite on restarts yesterday. Pace car is off. The field snakes its way down the front straightaway. Mackay Stevens with Alex Sedgwick giving chase. The green and the white flag shown simultaneously. 4 miles to go in race 2 at Road America. And here comes Sedgwick. Looking to the inside. Stevens crowds him down to the apex. Keep an eye on Cook in the BMW. He's got a head full of steam. He's got 2nd and he's going for the lead.
He is going for the lead. He tucks it to the inside. Mackay protects.
Oh, wow. Big wild ride for Aaron Povoleto in the background. He goes spinning off track further back in the pack. Sedgwick trying to fight here with Varun Choksi. This is for position in the pro class, but look at this battle for the lead. Stevens under pressure again. Kenton Cook tucked up behind the rear wing of Mackay Stevens.
Almost pushing the Mercedes into the brake zone. He flicks it to the outside. He's going to try and cut across here. Try and make a run. This is where he got a win here 3 weeks ago. Mackay Stevens is up for the task. Side by side between Choksi and Sedgwick up the hill into turn 6.
Stevens able to hang on the final lap. Just half a lap to go. 2 of the best passing opportunities already in the rearview mirror now for Kenton Cook, but one in charge to at least get to 2nd. Sedgwick settles back in 3rd. Then it's Choksi.
Rothberg to the inside, deep on the brakes into turn 8, almost gets into the side of the Pro-Am leader.
And just behind him is Gray Newell, so the top 3 in Pro-Am also all nose to tail at this late stage in the going.
Rothberg is definitely looking focused forward. He wants another win on the season. Doesn't want that championship lead nipped away at all.
Mackay Stevens has jetted away through that middle sector. Massive lead over Kenton Cook. That looks to be done and dusted at the front, so we focus instead on the Pro-Am battle. Blake McDonald has the lead. They've led that class all race long as Sedgwick and Choksi go side by side again.
Hahn is on the attack, down to the inside of Kyle Washington. They're now side by side again, off of turn 12.
Washington grabs the position back, though, as Hahn went wide in Canada corner. Just a few more corners to go. Philip Ellis diving to the inside. This is for the podium in the Pro-Am class. Philip Ellis grabs the spot from Gray Newell, but at the front, it's Mackay Stevens and JMF Motorsports that take the win in race 2. Kenton Cook with a brilliant restart takes the second place. Alex Sedgwick is third. Blake McDonald, though, hangs on for the win in Pro-Am ahead of Rothberg. And how about Philip Ellis coming through the field to finish in the third and final podium position?
I knew there'd be some fireworks on this restart. What a thrilling finish.
Holy smokes.
Mackay Stevens, what a job he did. I mean, Kenton Cook had such a head of steam on him. He was so poised in trying to keep that track position. Then when he got, that was turn 7 where he just escaped. He flew through there. Kenton had to get on the brakes to control his race car, and he was off for the races there. Mackay Stevens, what a brilliant victory.
Well, Cal, he told us, didn't he, earlier today, he learned a few lessons yesterday when he got jumped by the BMWs on the restart in race 1. He knew he was going to have to be a bit more physical, like Olivia Newton-John, to hang on to the lead of the race. He did it today. Amazing.
Well, he told us I have to hit them to protect.
Yeah.
Didn't quite get to blows today, I don't think, but it was certainly really close.
It was close indeed. How about Blake McDonald, too? He, too, had to earn that after really controlling the race for much of his stint.
When you're in his position, you think, no way, I've got to fight this out for a single lap shootout with a 10-second lead almost.
I'll just think about how the emotions get swirled around. It's like the spin cycle on your washing machine at home, right? You just get swirled around in there, going from in control to trying to fend off a challenge late in the going, but McDonald was up to the task.
Wow, that was a wild one. That last lap between Mikhail, last half lap was amazing on that restart there.
Should also give the flowers to Jay Schreibman, who was able to navigate all of that and bring his Ferrari home safely with the kind of pace that he was hoping to find here today, within a few seconds of his much more experienced and decorated teammate, Oz Negri. My oh my. Well, that was good fun. You feel for Gray Newell, deprived of the podium there at the tail end. Drove a really good race, but there was no holding back Philip Ellis. Kyle Washington somehow ended up 5th after all of that. Ross Schwest, I said it was Povoleto who went for the ride. That wasn't right, it was Schwest who ended up coming across the line just a few moments ago. So, not sure what happened to him. But nevertheless, he'll at least have his win in GT America earlier today to take away from the weekend. Here are your class winners. Pro to JMF Motorsports, Pro-Am to DXTT, and A, of course, the winners in the AM class. In a wild race 2 here at Elkhart Lake. This is the way the cars crossed the line at the checkered flag. However, multiple incidents on the final lap under review according to race control. So these are provisional race results. Ignore the word final at the top of the graphic there, but provisionally at least. Stevens and Grenier take the win in the pro class ahead of Kenton Cook and Connor DeFilippi. Alex Sedgwick and Jan Halen, another podium. They finish in 3rd. As far as the Pro-Am podium is concerned, McDonald and Bell, Rothberg and Foley, Burton and Ellis. What a charge from Philip. Did have some damage at the front of that car, I noticed, so I do wonder if that might be under review. We've got that is one car that is being reviewed. It has now come down to me.
Also turned 13, so that had to be on Newell, I would think. That happened right there at the last couple of corners.
Todd Coleman also under review for re-entry at turn 1. Coleman shown in 7th at the line. Well, hope Race Control didn't have a flight to catch, because they might be here for a little while, trying to get to the bottom of all of this. We will celebrate what we know, and what we know is that Blake McDonald was the first to cross the line in Pro-Am. He and Matt Bell have been so strong all weekend long. We also know that Mackay Stevens Diminutive in stature, but big in heart. That was on full display. Drove a whale of a race, and that final restart was tremendous.
That was incredible. For Blake McDonald, he's had a couple of wins, but I think it's the first time he's drove the car to victory lane. They've
Correct.
been in race ones of the weekend at Coda and at Sebring.
Yeah.
I wonder if that issue with Todd Coleman was how Schwess got involved, re-entry on turn 1.
Okay.
That was where Schwess went for a ride, wasn't it, on the run down to turn 3?
Yes, that does sound right. Hard to say. Hard to say. It was a frantic final lap, as you would anticipate, when the green and the white come out simultaneously. But at front of it was Mackay Stevens, who's standing by with DJ.
Mackay Stevens out of the car. We could see the smile underneath the helmet, but talk me through that last lap. That had to be heart-wrenching and terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, you described it quite well. The heart is still racing. I got to make sure Mr. Farrow is okay because I think he and I both had a mild heart attack. But there's just so many people to thank yet again. This beautiful chassis here, the Mercedes-AMG family, it would be nothing without Mr. Farrow and JMF Motorsports. And then I really got to give it up to my teammate Mick, who just continues to set the bar so high in order for me to try to reach up and grab it. And it's just a tremendous mentor, so I can't thank everybody enough.
Well, let's turn to Mikel Grenier here. A 20-second lead that you guys had built up disappeared. What was going through your mind when you saw that yellow flag come out?
Yeah, I really couldn't believe it at the moment because I thought there would be one more lap in the checkered. But Mikai did really good. We are a bit slow on the straight, so we knew it would be an exciting lap. We told him yesterday to protect the inside in T5, and that's what he did. So he gave no room to anyone. And yeah, a bit stressful, but he did a good job.
Well, congratulations to both of you. We're going to split you through here and go over and talk to the winners of Pro-Am. Those are your winners overall and in the Pro category, JMF Motorsports. But we've got to go over here to DXDT Racing. Matt Bell and Blake McDonald. Blake, we're going to start with you. A big sigh let out. I think that says it all.
Yeah, they couldn't let me have it easy. They had to give me that yellow at the end. But I'll take it. Glad for the win. Really happy with the team. Really proud of the team. Really proud of my co-driver. We earned this one.
And over to you, my friend. You set this up well. You put your teammate in the best possible position. Yellow comes out a little bit terrifying. Did you ever have any moment of doubt?
No doubt, just some nerves, that's for sure. But no doubt, I knew Blake could bring it home. He's been driving really well all year and kept it together under some big pressure there at the end. There was a lot going on in front and behind. Yeah, Justin certainly gave us a little bit of a fright, especially in turn 8 there. But yeah, Blake did a great job to bring it home.
And Blake, I want to come back to you. How did it feel bringing this car over the line to take victory, your first as a teammate here?
It felt well earned. We've worked so hard all year, and I feel like we've got the short end of the stick a few times, and so it felt good to just put a good weekend together. So we're really happy with it.
Well, I can see just how happy you are. We're going to also now move over. There's the big number ones for them. We've got your other winners here, your AM class winners, and Jay Schreiben and Oz Negri. Oz, I want to start with you. Middle of the storm, it looked like, through all of this race. How did you guys manage this?
You know, we have a really good car, good crew, and I was able to keep up with, you know, with the pro guys for most of the race, open up a big gap behind, so, you know, Jay would drive the way he did. That was the best drive I have ever seen from Jay. He's the closest he ever been to me, and that to me, it means the world, because I'm here because of him. And I love this series. We want to keep racing here fair and square.
We want to see you keep racing. And Jay, that is the highest of praise and truly the eye of the hurricane in those last couple of laps. Absolute insanity.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting day yesterday and a much better day today, a comfortable drive, always a challenge, and I echo what I said. I'm incredibly grateful to this man. He's turning me into a real race car driver, and we're just having a great time doing it, and we don't mind winning. Thank you.
They don't mind winning. We don't mind seeing them there, folks. Those are your winners. Ryan, we got some very happy drivers down here.
Yeah, we do, and you're going to have a lot of fun, I think, emceeing the podium ceremonies. Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you, it was a bit of a slow burn, wasn't it, that race? And then all of a sudden, they turned the heat all the way up, and it started to boil over. But made for a lot of good fun over that final lap of the race here today at Road America. Here's how it played out over 90 minutes. Race number 2 of the weekend under sunny skies, in stark contrast to the rain that came through yesterday. It was Matt Bell who led the field to the green from the overall pole position. Battles got testy pretty early, and they remained testy often throughout the course of the race. Of course, you had the pit stop window right in the middle. A couple of random Vandals teammates very close together coming in and coming out. Mackay Stevens, though, charging through the field, one of the first to pit in the pro class, and he put the hammer down to get the track position, drove to a lead as big as 22 seconds at one point. That all, of course, would go away, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Good fights here. Todd Coleman racing with Ross Schwest. That was super tight entering the carousel. This was even tighter. Daskalos in Washington. Not the first time that they were dueling. And only a few laps later, Jason Daskalos, with an apparent technical issue, pulled the car off. That brought out a full course yellow, which led to a one-lap shootout to settle the race. Kenton Cook from third on the restart, knifing through to grab second spot. Chaos erupted behind as Mackay Stevens did everything in his power to hang on to the position. Last gasp attempt for Philip Ellis brought Regulator Racing to the podium, but at the end of the day, JMF Motorsports rules supreme here at Road America. And with that, it's just the podium celebration to go. A brilliant weekend of racing for the SRO Series comes to a close. We've had a little bit of everything, Calvin. Some hard-nosed racing on track. Mother Nature threw us some curveballs from time to time, but at the end of it, it's been a lot of fun. It always is coming up here to Elkhart Lake.
Such a thrill to come back to this property. They continue to excel in terms of really setting the standards for everyone to try and achieve in terms of a great fan experience, a brilliant racetrack. They didn't need to change anything on the racetrack. They did resurface it a couple of years ago, but outside of that, just keep it the way it is because it provides a spectacle of racing like we saw, particularly in that last lap shootout. That was awesome, awesome racing. Great racecraft there by our winners just to keep it all together under tremendous pressure. And a big shake-up in the points as well, potentially, here by the end of the day.
Yeah, Road America at its best. And when we talk about these results and the shake-up in points, just keep in mind all of this is provisional. We mentioned it earlier, but several incidents are being reviewed from that final lap, which could yet have an impact on the final finishing order. If that news was to trickle down to us before we are done on air for the day, we'll pass it along. But in the meantime, we can only go with the results as they were posted when the cars crossed the line. Just keep in mind things are subject to change at this late stage in the day. DJ now welcoming the podium finishers up to the rostrum, such as it is here at Road America. Good crowd on hand as well to celebrate with them. If not for that yellow, Alex Sedgwick and Jan Halen probably would have been second here today. Instead, they get shuffled back. Kenton Cook so aggressive on the restart. Not for the first time this weekend. Very opportunistic and needed to be because it didn't seem like that team had their outright pace.
Yeah, and I think for Sedgwick, he was going for the win. I mean, hats off to him. He just wasn't thinking about it, not moving backwards. Kenton got around him with that run, but Alex was trying to open up the door on the inside of Mikel Grenier. And Kenton just timed it perfectly to take advantage of that, but couldn't quite make the move on Mackay Stevens. If you had to be a gambler, man, you'd have probably put the money on the BMW on the run down into turn 5. But as his teammate said, we told Mackay just protect the inside lane. He did that perfectly, and then he was just off. He just scampered off during that last half lap.
Well, that was clearly lesson learned from yesterday. Told the story already, but Mackay was reflecting with us on race 1 and on a restart we had in that weather-shortened race where the BMWs on the restarts using that horsepower, that BMW InPower really came to life and caught him out. Mackay knew it was going to be a fist fight if they did come down to a late race restart, and he was ready for it today.
There's John Farrow. He jumps up with his boys to celebrate as well. Just tremendous support from that man for so many young talents across. He's got cars entered in all 3 championships here this weekend, TC America, Pirelli GT4, and this one. Jan Halen congratulates another strong run for RS1, another podium, but unfortunately for them, they finished behind the championship leaders of Kenton Cook and Connor D. Filippi. Mackay Stevens and Mikkel Grenier obviously ahead and will chew into that lead just a little bit.
John Farrell, like you said, at the center of the picture, where he belongs to be. This sport needs benefactors like him that have a passion for it and are willing to put a substantial financial investment behind their race team and their race drivers. It's what drives the sport forward.
Absolutely. But he's having fun. I mean, they won earlier today. Think about that. They won Pirelli GT4 as well, with a single driver lineup in typically a two driver lineup series, of course. So.
And we're strong in TC America as well with their development project with the Toyota Corolla GRTC car. That's a program that burst onto the scene with a single car a couple of years back. It's amazing how much it's grown, and they expect to win wherever they turn up these days.
Well, they've made this transition to GT3 just seamless. I mean, winning the opener, what a statement that was, and then following that up with another victory. That's now their third win on the season. As we said, all three of those teams standing up there right now, they're going to be battling out through Indy. The championship is very much up for grabs, even though the 99 car continues to have I won't call it a safe margin, but a comfortable margin, but you can get big swings even with this small field in the pro class.
Well, you talk about teams, though, that have done a lot in a short amount of time. It's easy to forget. This is the one-year anniversary of Random Vandal's first GT3 start, and now we almost talk about them as the established team in the paddock. It's amazing how quickly they've ascended through the ranks as well.
Yeah, on paper, when you think about it, Kenton and Connor D. Filippi, that is a really stout field because a pro lineup has to have a silver-rated driver, which Kenton still remains. So they've got one of the best silver-rated drivers you'll find anywhere, but Mackay Stevens is gradually climbing onto a similar level.
Yeah,
that's performances
true.
Like today.
That is true. I'm sure plenty of race teams are taking notice. The fact that in a field that includes Philip Ellis and Bill Oberlin and Kenton Cook, Jan Halen, it was Mackay Stevens who had the fastest lap of the race, and it's not a fluke.
By a chunk.
Yeah, not a fluke at all. That was the Pro Class podium wrapped up. Coming up next will presumably be Pro-Am. For DXDT Racing, again, they've been around the block, but helped to bring this Chevy Corvette to the SRO paddock last year. Had some success in Pro-Am, had all of that success in Pro. Very nearly won a championship despite missing the first 4 races of the season. Interesting note on our timing and scoring screens. I think we have had a change, Cal. What have you noticed?
Well, you see him there, I believe. Gray Neal and Darren Turner. So they've reversed that pass that Philip Ellis made late in the going. So the 91 gets dropped a spot and puts the Harder Racing team up to their third podium finish in the last 4 races. So what a rebound for this group. The car was destroyed here in practice on Friday afternoon. And to rebound like that, that was a really solid run for those boys. And that will help out Rothbergen for fully a little bit because it drops the 91 regulator racing car down a couple of points.
Yep. That was a decision that had a big impact in the points. Foley and Rothberg, I think they'll take a second place.
Nice thing with DJ is you can actually hear him in Milwaukee announcing the winners.
He's got some pipes on him. Our DJ Clark.
All right, drivers, lift up those.
And 2 results of second on the road for Turner, and Foley and Rothberg ended up with 7th on adjusted time yesterday. But we've got a good battle on our hands, don't we?
That Turner Motorsport Group, they have a lot of poise, don't they? And whatever's thrown their way, they just seem to take in their stride and execute, and just a really deliberate approach to their racing. And it seems to be steering them the way of a championship, even though it's going to be really tight for these last couple of events. 3 races, 2 90-minute races at Barber, then the 8-hour Indy.
Well, last year, it was Rothberg that burst onto the scene, fresh out of Ferrari Challenge, but just his second season of motorsport. Blake McDonald, pretty similar. Did a couple of years in some different lower-level championships, did the one GT3 race, the Indy 8-hour last year. And he's very much a title contender here in his first full season of GT World Challenge America.
Yeah, it's great to see these drivers literally improve before our eyes over a championship season. Learning very, very quickly. Great mentors from these pros like Matt Bell.
Yep, great resource and a really good team behind them as well, with all the support that comes from the manufacturers too across the board. All these brands put so much effort into their customer racing programs. It is a huge part of what modern sports car racing is turned into, with these turnkey cars from the manufacturers that then are supported by the OEMs. Allows everyone to go racing with a high-level GT race car. Pro class points as we believe they stand coming out of today's race. Hunter DeFilippi, Kenton Cook with the advantage over Mackay Stevens and Mikael Grenier. Alex Sedgwick and Jan Halen a little bit further back, but all three of them still within striking distance. Bill Oberlin and Varun Choksi are a distant fourth at this stage, but showed that they had some pace at times during this weekend. Told the story earlier about Eric Powell and Scott Dullahite. Scott's big crash yesterday meant the Mustang wasn't ready to go. Big thanks to the Turner Motorsport team for allowing Eric Powell to do a couple of laps in their spare chassis and at least secure second place points for Scott Dullahite's championship bid. But it was Oz Negri and Jay Schreibman that score a pair of victories here this weekend that has them in pretty solid control of the points battle, with 3 races to go, including the double points in the 8-hour. And it would take a shakeup with some additional cars in the class really to make a huge amount of headway in any single one of these races otherwise.
Yeah, but it's a fun battle. I mean, both teams are really executing at the highest level, and there's a lot of potential in that Mustang. I think Dullahite Racing, they may struggle to beat the AF course appearing for that AM title, but they're learning quickly, and I think if they come back next year, they'll definitely be one of the preseason favorites. And
the word from the team is it's going to be a thrash, but they will hustle to get the car on the grid for the next round of the championship at Barber Motorsports Park. It was a wild weekend here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Plenty of good racing, plenty of interesting weather to sort through as well. But at the end of the day, the champagne has been sprayed, and we turn our attention now to the final 3 races of the season, including a trip to Barber coming up next in September. Thanks for joining us for the whole team here at Elkhart Lake. We appreciate you tuning in. See you next time.